Good evening, I'm John Batchelor. This is the John Batchelor Show. It's a great pleasure to welcome Mary Kissel, the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal and the host of Opinion Journal at WSJ Video. Mary, to my studio this evening. Mary, it's been a week of the debate, the day after the debate, the day after the debate, the day after the debate. We're into the post-debate day 4, and I note tonight some announcements about the post-debate debate 4. The candidate, Mr. Trump, is saying rigged tonight. That was on the Hill. Candidate Mr. Trump is also saying again and again the story of Machado, the beauty queen, again and again. And I won't follow that. I'm just again and again and again. However, the major news here is that, disappointing everyone who's banking on the 23rd century to pull us out of trouble, the crew of the Starship Enterprise, the Trekkies, led by J.J. Abrams, the brilliant director, have gone on Facebook and elsewhere, I suppose, with an open letter against Donald Trump.
I wonder if that helps the Trump campaign, John.
I don't know.
You know, I feel like the more people who come out against him, the more Trump supporters want to support him because they're sick of being dictated to.
I agree. Here's the wrinkle. They live in the 23rd century. Therefore, they know what's going to happen. It worries me.
Really?
Yes. You know that plot where they change time?
Back to the Future?
Yes. And we could all turn out to be elephants or something like that.
Oh, that wasn't Back to the Future.
All right. I'm worried, and I told Mary this earlier, so we're not going to send any time to it, that the Starship Enterprise could be turning into the Starship Trump if they mess with our history. So it's Trekkies against Trump, but now we turn to the post analysis with David Davenport of the Hoover Institution, because the debate divides into partisanship, but it also looks to the second debate in St. Louis in a little less than 2 weeks. David, a very good evening to you. The general understanding was that Mr. Trump did very well in the first third and had Mrs. Clinton, the metaphors, on the ropes over trade and over taxes. Mrs. Clinton, using a not original, trumped-up trickle-down, did not make strong points when it comes to prosperity, which is a major theme for the American people. Your opinion of that first third, was that a win for Trump? Is that enough for him these 4 days later, despite his obsession with Machado? Good evening to you, David.
John, Mary, good to be with you as always. I think Trump was on more comfortable ground on the economics questions, and I think he is more comfortable than Hillary is talking about taxes and talking about trade. She has this difficult position that even the fact-checkers agree Trump got right, that she said at first the TPP was the gold standard of trade agreements before, she was for it before she was against it, as we like to say. I think he was on more comfortable ground. She moved into a heavier attack mode later in the debate, and I think he does his best when he deflects those things quickly and moves on to something else. But he's gotten bogged down not only during the debate, the second half, but now in the post-debate spin, if you will. He just keeps getting bogged down in some of these attacks. I think he needs to get back to his quick slash, jab, and dance boxing rather than staying on the ropes with her.
David, I agree. There wasn't a killer blow from either side. The debate seemed to appeal. If you were a Trump supporter, you still liked him. If you were a Clinton supporter, you still liked her. However, there was one line that really stuck out at me, besides she's been a politician for 30 years and still hasn't kind of worked it out. And that is, he said, she has experience, but she has bad experience.
Right.
And that, for all of the flubs that Trump made, he does have these phrases that are so true and spoken in such a plain way that they seem to cut through. Am I hearing that because I'm biased against Mrs. Clinton, or was that actually a good moment for him?
No, I agree with you. I think it was a good moment, and I think what makes debates like these difficult to judge, though people haven't been reluctant to try, as I said in a column this week in Forbes right after the debate, Trump is from Mars and Clinton is from Venus. They approach these things from two different planets. So for every question, she had her prepared, 4-point plan and her 6-point proposal, and then Trump just comes from a different planet, and he said, well, that's fine, but those plans never work. And you could have been most ridiculous to me was her claim, I have a plan to defeat ISIS. Well, great. He said, why didn't you do it? And, why should we believe and accept that? So I think that is his strong suit, is just to come from a completely different angle and said, all these plans, all this experience, this hasn't really helped America. So we have to go a different way.
Well said, David and Mary. Can we find a way to put the candidate in an undisclosed location after the debate? Because he has consistently distracted everybody from the strength of his own performance. It's very and today, the word rigged. There's no reason to say rigged. He made his points. They're good points, and they quote well. Dan Henniger, for example, has written a column for the Wall Street Journal. It's up there now, in which he quotes Donald J. Trump responding to Mrs. Clinton's pat phrases about management and organization. Talk, he says. Talk, and that it never comes to anything.
Well, it makes you wonder, and David, I wonder if you have a perspective on this. It makes you wonder if it's not so much what they say, but what they represent and the attitude with which they convey their ideas.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole... in fact, I think this is going to be highly relevant in the next debate, which I think for Trump will be tougher because this town hall format is not really, I think, his strength. Although he has some interesting experience with reality television, we have to give him that. But, in those, I think even more, body language, attitude, demeanor toward the, people asking the questions, I think all of that becomes even more important, and therefore I guess I'd be a bit nervous if I were a Trump supporter.
But David, neither one of them have unfiltered interactions with the hoi polloi. Trump just lands at airports and talks from podiums, and Hillary Clinton other people speak for Hillary Clinton. She doesn't really speak, and she certainly doesn't give press conferences. So could they perhaps be on more even ground than we think?
Well, perhaps. I mean, I think I think again, Hillary's going to want to. If somebody asks a question, she's going to want to give her 4-point plan for that, and that's kind of what her supporters expect, and they think that's impressive. But we just don't know what Trump will do with some of that, and I think he can risk coming off unkind. It's one thing how you come off with Lester Holt. I think it's another thing how you come off with ordinary people. So I'm a little more nervous about his approach in that debate.
We call this a debate, but it is not.
It's not a debate.
It's not. If you don't want it to be a debate, it is true that Ronald Reagan had 3 things to say in his debate, and no matter what the question was, he said them again and again, and he's still saying them. He's still saying them tonight. I don't care about Machado. I want to talk about taxes.
Right.
That's available to Donald J. Trump. You don't have to be a politician to know that. He's a master marketer, right, David? He has the skills to do this.
No, that's right. And I think historically one of the reasons that some of the things that would be huge gaffes for anybody else, but they don't stick on Donald, is because he does keep moving, and he delivers his jabs and cuts and then sort of dances away. And that, I think, is the problem here, is that he didn't do that in the debate, and then, as you rightly point out, these several days of post-debate spin, he's continued to hang on to some of these perceived slights. And so I think he's got to get back to the cutting, slashing, and keeping it on his ground.
David, the main challenge for Trump seems to be to convince Americans that he's safe enough to elect, that it's okay, you can take a chance on Donald J. Trump, that he knows enough to be president, that he has the temperament to be president. Why is it that he keeps reverting back into these ad hoc accusations and cul-de-sacs, verbal cul-de-sacs, every time that he's let off his teleprompter leash?
Well, I mean, I guess obviously one school of thought is that he just can't help himself. But I tend to think that this is part of a strategy in his mind, that one reason people like him is that he's willing to stand up to perceived slights. And so he's going to be able to stand up for America in the world, people who would attack us, people who would question us. I think he feels like that's part of his strength, and that's part of why he connects with people. I'm not convinced he's right about that, but I think that must be what's in his mind.
He has a tax plan. He has a plan for prosperity. He has a plan for deregulation.
Right.
He has a plan to talk about the inequity between the United States and Mexico because of the VAT. He has all of those plans. Does he need to do more than that, David? Those are all winners.
Well, I mean, yes, but I do agree with Mary. I want to go back to Mary's other point. I don't think these debates are about defeating Hillary Clinton or even conveying a message. I think we have roughly twice as many undecided voters in 2016 at this moment than we had in 2012. And the research suggests that they are not undecided because they don't know the candidates. They're undecided because they do know them and they don't like either one of them. I think the whole key for him to accomplish in these debates is to convince that large 15, maybe even 20% of undecideds that he could be trusted with the presidency.
In other words,
he has the whole ballgame for him in the debate.
He has to stop being Biff from Back to the Future.
Right.
Oh, Biff. Very nice, Mary.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Whatever that means, I'm sure you're right.
Really? But you don't remember Biff from Back to the Future?
We're worried
Right.
about we're worried about the future being destroyed and reality changing.
We
here.
need more Marty McFly and less Biff.
Mary's taking us to a movie where we worried about changing history. We worry about this, and that it was the Trekkie thing. David, you understand? The Trek has a magic for the
This is
boomer
not
generation.
Star Trek, but it's close enough.
Yes, well, Trump knows what Star Trek is. I mentioned
I'm
also.
staying out of Hollywood, you guys. I can't keep up with you.
But you know Star Trek, David Davenport. You know
that I do know.
Yes, so, and we're worried about it. All right, David Davenport, the Hoover Institution, more debate debrief. Mary Kissel, the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal. I'm John Batchelor.